talking about building hot rods here. Not talking about sugarcoating. We're talking about everything. Knuckle busting. The rust in your fucking eyes. We're talking about building fucking hot rods. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to It's All About the Build podcast. You got me, Elliot Slack, and as always, to my left is Randy Bunting.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And today we got a good episode. It's one of my favorite topics to talk about because nobody really has a clue when it comes to it, as far as society goes.
Or society, the everyday Joe Schmo.
Yeah, the average Joe Schmo. A lot of people see a car and they're like, wow, that's a nice car, and move on.
That's a nice paint job.
Nice paint job. Beautiful paint job. What a beautiful car. Beautiful truck. But if you really know what you're looking at, is it really that beautiful, Randy?
Maybe.
Could be.
Possibly not.
So if you haven't figured out what the topic is, today we're going to talk about how to actually look at a vehicle. I'm not talking about how to pick out a fucking car to work on. I'm talking about when you're at a car show, if you're not understanding what in the hell's going on,
it's cat feeding time.
It's cat feeding time. In case somebody's worried about what's going on in the background.
And since we're off topic, it's snowing outside, so that's nice.
First snow of the season.
A
couple days after Thanksgiving. Hopefully everybody had a good holiday weekend.
Yeah. Holiday weekend?
Yeah.
Oh, the weather outside is weather.
And it's fucking snowing. So, we got a lot going on here in the shop this week. We're trying to do work and trying to hook up heat, and we're trying to do this, and we're trying to do that, and we're trying to pour concrete.
In the freezing temperatures.
And trying to do Thanksgiving, and we're trying to get this fucking podcast in, and it's fucking snowing. And
shop is a mess.
Yeah. So... And we're drinking coffee and Kahlua. Woohoo! Good morning.
Good morning, Stanley Higgoo.
Yep. So, anyways, back to the topic at hand. We're going to tell you guys what to look for, how to actually look at a car or a truck or whatever. Because a lot of you guys, you know, I've had a lot of people tell me how great a vehicle is, and I go look at it, and it's junk. Well, I mean, not junk, but
you gotta walk you're like, oh, this car's great. You gotta look at it. It's like the best car here. And we spent half an hour walking through traffic, 3-4 blocks away.
Yeah, the damn car show.
Just to be disappointed.
Completely, 110%. So recently we were at this car show, and we're standing around the nicest paint job there. So we thought. We went there and we looked at it, and this thing was slick. It was black. And if anybody knows anything about black paint jobs, it's got to be perfect, or it's going to show.
It was a really nice paint job.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was a nice Camaro. It looked wet, and it looked deep.
Right.
And the stance was nice. And
interior was nice, too.
Yeah, the whole 9 yards. Everything was beautiful about it.
Engine bay was nice.
Yeah.
For the most part.
It wasn't anything crazy.
Yeah. It was a really, really nice driver.
Clean.
Yeah.
I don't know if it drove. We didn't see it drive, but, you know.
Well, I don't think they trailered it into the...
Right.
I mean, it was right on the street there, so...
Yeah. Well, as long as it can go 5 miles an hour, that's all that matters.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways, we're staring at this paint job, and there's these two yahoos there at the show. And they were telling us, if you think this truck, if you think this car looks great, you got to go see this award-winning Tri-5.
And not just award, it was Good Guys. Good Guys Award.
Good Guys Awards. So maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure what happened. Anyways, we walked the whole way across town. Literally, this car show in Indiana here is in a town, and it's all over the town. It's downtown. It's over the baseball field. It's over at a fucking park. It's over here. And it takes up the whole place. And I mean, you're literally walking the whole entire town to see everything. So we walked the whole, we were just over there. So what the hell? We walked back and we found it. He even had the awards in the trunk of his car. And the beautiful thing is that in the trunk of the car where the awards were, you could see the shoddy bodywork in the trunk.
It wasn't even covered in there. It was a custom car. It was a custom car. Yeah, it was a custom car, completely done, but they didn't finish the trunk. It was just metal in there. It wasn't.
It just had carpet laying on top. It's not like the carpet was finished off.
Did it have carpet?
Yeah.
Oh.
And the seals, you could see the fucking glue coming out of the seals.
Right.
Like the whole way around, there was paint chipping in the trunk area where the seal's at, in between the seal and the actual, like, I guess the rain gutter there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was bad. And you look down the side of the car, and we were literally standing there scratching our asses trying to figure out why in the hell this thing won an award, let alone a good guy's award.
I don't know how old the awards were, if that was just from like a decade ago or...
No, because they were all gung-ho saying that it was like a year or two ago.
Oh, yeah, okay.
No, I could be wrong. Don't quote me.
No, I thought you're right. I think you did say that.
Yeah, because the guy was all gung-ho saying, I mean, they were gung-ho about this car, and we went and looked at it, and even under the hood.
It looked like an old build.
Yeah, it looked like something from the fucking 90s, in all honesty, but it was winning big top awards.
I don't know. I mean, I say that, and that boggles my mind, because even the judges thought it was a nice car.
Mm-hmm. But that could go back to politics. Who knows?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, you're right. Who knows? But if it wasn't a Good Guys Award winner, to the average Joe Schmo, I mean, it looks like a great car. It looks like a nicely done build.
Well, I mean, how many 20-footers have you been fooled by? So you see something going down the road, and you go buy it, you get close to it because it stops or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or you see a car across the car show, and you're like, damn, look at that. It's shiny and it's nice.
Yeah, I mean,
catches your eye.
I drive my little S10 and everybody's like, nice truck. You know, when they're like half a mile away. And
yeah.
I'm like, all right, that's far enough. Don't get too close.
Yeah, because when you get close, you see that
there's baseball size holes in the thing.
And the fender alignment isn't too kosher on the passenger side. We need to fucking address that at some point.
That's because there's no bolts in the fender.
Oh. Well, at least you got the shocks working.
Yeah, the shocks work great.
Yeah, they ain't bottoming out anymore.
No, but anyway.
Yeah, anyway. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And if you're one of those guys, if you don't have even if you think you know what you're looking at, you might be surprised with what we're going to tell you today. And we're going to come in, we're going to talk about, how it's sitting. Like, you can tell a lot about a build or what kind of chassis or what kind of suspension or anything of the sort a vehicle has just by it sitting there. We're going to get into taking a look at how the tires are sitting when it's slammed on the ground. And we're going to be looking at how to look down the body. We're going to be looking at gaps. We talked a little bit about this shit in prior episodes about how to just make gaps and shit like that, and just throwing fenders on and all that stuff. And we're going to really get into what you're supposed to be looking at. I mean, not even supposed to be looking at, just what to look at and what to look for. Like, maybe next time you go to a car show, you're going to be like, I didn't even realize.
Yeah, you're not just bypassing all these cars because that you're looking at these cars and you're just walking past them and that's a cool, nice looking car. You actually spend some time and look at the effort put into it.
Yeah. Well, okay. Speaking of which, we went back to look at this exact car show. We went back to look at that Tri-5, and it just so happened we're walking by, what was it, like a 37 or a 39 Rolls Royce or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure what year it was. I mean, you know better than me on that.
Yeah. So we're walking by this Rolls Royce, and you look over, and it's like, oh, damn, that's a Rolls Royce. That's nice. And as we're walking by, I'm looking at this thing, and I had no reason to stop. It's just a Rolls Royce. If it's not lowered and custom and shit like that, I'm not really too concerned with it, in all honesty. I appreciate what it is.
Yeah, I respect it and definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, if it's done clean and everything, I appreciate it, but it's just not my cup of tea. I'm all for the history of vehicles and shit like that. It's just,
I mean, that's just not what we're into.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into it. If you want to pay me to fucking do it, I'll be more than happy to do it.
I'll take that back. It's not like we're not into it. I love every aspect of Hot Rods, original classic cars, whatever. But But what we do for a living is more on the custom side, so that's kind of what we
If you want a fucking classic car that's fucking sitting low and looking good, and it drives and it has fucking AC and it's got all the new amenities, then that's what we're doing.
I'll drive a 30 Model A every day.
All fucking day long.
Yeah.
You know.
Especially if it's a truck.
Right. But anyways, we're walking across to go to this Tri-5, and I'm looking at this Rolls Royce, and as I'm walking around it, like, first thing you notice on a Rolls Royce is the big old fucking grill and the fucking RR on it, you know. Mm-hmm. And I was like, damn, that's a Rolls Royce. That's nice. And you don't see them too often, especially that year. But we're coming around, and sure enough, it's like, damn, look at the gaps. And damn, look at the paint. Look at the color.
And that was lacquer paint, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was
that was a full-blown, like, restoration.
Yeah.
But they did it right. Mm-hmm. And the more I walked around it as we went by it, it was like, damn, look at those gaps. Look at those gaps, look at those gaps, look at those gaps. And then I stopped and really looked at it. Everything was fucking done beautifully. And then I went up and looked inside. The interior was just as beautiful as what was going on outside. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I was just walking past it. Like I said, that restoration style isn't my cup of tea. Like I said, I appreciate it. And I was like, well, it's a nice car. And keep on walking. But this was just done to perfection.
If it takes that much to make somebody like us look twice, I mean, that means it's done right.
Now, I'm not saying I'm anything.
No, we're doing this podcast to talk about, you know, how to look at a car,
right?
And even Joe Schmo can just walk past it, not think twice. But even us can do that as well. But for something as original as that car was, it caught your eye.
Yeah. And I stopped and ended up bullshitting with the guy and found out that it was fucking built in Pennsylvania and this, that, and everything else.
Yeah,
it's
Reading. People.
Yeah, and his crony that was sitting beside him was fucking asshole like they always are. You know, the fucking Luigi, like Mario and Luigi. There's always a Mario who owns the car, and then there's a fucking Luigi's just tagging along. And Luigi always sucks, man. He's just fucking there, and he thinks he's hot shit. And all he does is tell Mario what he thinks he should do by building a fucking car. And it's like, you ain't putting no money into this. You have no fucking creativity. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. I think we should dive into like body alignment and shit right now. Like we're talking about that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's go into that.
Now, whenever we're talking about body alignment, Randy, so when you go up to a car, obviously, the first initial thing that you're going to look at is the body alignment shit. So when you're looking at a car, Randy, tell me exactly what you're looking at when you're looking at a car.
At first glance, I think I would like to see the gaps right. I mean, I think that's number one for me. I take that back. Number one is how true the body panels are. The gaps can be a little off here and there. That's fine, depending on the build. But if you look at a car and you look down the side of the car and the front fender is like sticking outwards compared to the rest of the car, that's a huge turnoff for me.
Right.
I at least want the bodies to be straight down the side of the car. Like when you really, I'm talking about getting down on your knees and looking at the body lines, you know, within a foot.
Like if there's a natural roll in the side of the car,
yeah,
or a pinch or something like that. And when I mean pinch, like, I'll just go with like a C10. It's like a 67 to 72 C10. It's got that pinch body line that runs down the whole side.
Yep.
And goes up around the fender or up around the wheel wells and continues on. Mm-hmm. Those need to be straight as an arrow from gap to gap. That line needs to be on point.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking at.
And with the cars that have like the Buicks and stuff like that, they have a peak at the top of the fender and everything. Like the GM cars, they have a peak at the top of the fender.
Mustangs have a nice solid peak at the top of
if they have
fenders and shit.
Most northern body line right in the middle of the fender. That line meeting to the body, if you really look, you can see whether or not the front end's aligned right. If they have the rat support aligned right.
Yeah, if you're looking down the side of it and it's straight from the ass end to the front door, and then all of a sudden you can see if it hangs a left or a right by the front fender. Like what Randy's talking about, if you're looking down the ass end of this car at the edge of it, at the corner of it. Like, this is what's happening in our minds when we fucking walk around a car. Like, when we're looking down the side of it, you can see that fender is cocked to the left or cocked to the right, or even goes up north or south.
Right.
Just by following bylines down the side of it. Mm-hmm. And this is what's happening when we're looking at these cars.
Yeah. I feel like that's number one for me. Number two is the gaps.
I think number one for me, since we're talking about your number one, my number one.
Yeah.
My number one thing, and I think my wife's number one thing, is the fucking paint. Right off the bat.
Well, for most people, that's the first thing you look at.
Right, but, well,
what's your interpretation?
So, I couldn't tell you how many times my wife and I are walking in a car show, and we're 20 feet away, 30 feet away, and my wife is like, "Holy shit! You see that waving at you from here?"
Yeah.
Like, you can tell a lot about a car just by the paintwork. If the paintwork is smooth and clean and crisp, and it's got depth, then I'll start diving into deeper.
Explain what the waving is.
Okay.
What are you talking about waving?
Okay, back to just like we talked about, you looking down the side of that car and checking for the panel alignment. Pretty much, if you're not looking at the car, you're looking into the paint, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm walking up to a car or around a car, like, that's what I'm looking at. And you can literally follow the reflection down the side of that car. So let's say there's a fucking ladder right beside the car. You could literally see straight lines of that ladder the whole way down the side of the car. And if there's any ripple in the paint, that ladder is going to go from straight to a squiggle. Like a little squiggly, you know? And it's the same thing as you're walking around a car. You can follow a reflection. As you're walking, that reflection is going to run with you. And you can see that reflection is going to be a certain structure. And as soon as it hits something, you can see a ripple. And as soon as you see a ripple, if you really zone in on that and you kind of just teeter back and forth.
Go back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, you're going to find, and you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. It's a wave. It's a fucking wave. And then, like, if there's any orange peel in it, that reflection itself will be muffled or dirty, I guess. Kind of like foggy. If you want to know what I'm talking about when I say orange peel, go outside to any brand new fucking car and look at it. Yeah. And it'll literally look like a rind on an orange.
Yep. All new cars are like that.
All new cars.
Every single one of them.
And in order to get past that rind, you have to do some serious labor to get that thing smooth as glass.
If you spray your clear right, you can get it pretty close.
Yeah, but you're still going to have some orange.
You're still going to have some, yeah.
I don't know if anybody I've ever. I mean, okay, a lot of people in the 9 to 5 world that's spraying, they can get the clear. They can spray the clear, never have to buff anything, or not buff anything, but never have to do wet sanding, and get that orange peel to look factory. So anything that's painted in the fucking factory anymore is a machine doing it.
Right.
So it gets that consistency. Mm-hmm. And then they don't wet sand and buff, so that orange peel is going to be there no matter what. So if we're talking about a fucking machine painting it to the very most perfect, let's think of it this way. If GM or Stellantis or Ford or fucking Tesla could paint it perfect, they fucking would. There ain't no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? So if a robot ain't doing it to perfection, that's just...
We're only human.
There you have it.
Yeah. And if you own a new car and if you've seen that orange peel, go ahead and wet sand your car.
Yeah.
Spend a good weekend doing that and buff that out. You'll see, I think, surprise on how much better your car is going to look.
Oh, fuck yeah. I mean, you can even get away with using some compound, some heavier grit compound. Mm-hmm. And if you're not, we can get into that on another fucking date. But so basically, my first thing is I'm looking at the paint. And then the second thing is Randy's first thing that he's looking at.
Yeah. I think my second thing is gaps. And then I think I look at paint probably third. I don't look at the paint as much because it is a lot more work I get it. Not everybody's perfect coming out of in their garage. I mean, not everybody's a painter. Not everybody can spend the money on paying somebody to do it. I get that. But if you're a guy in a garage putting your fenders together, that kind of shit, if you can control that more, if you're a little bit better at shimming that thing up and squaring that clip up and everything, I feel like, in my opinion, that's the way I look at it.
I guess, yeah, you're right, because if it's a fucking patina job.
Right. Even if it's a patina job, I still want to see the body panel straight and the door gaps as close as they can be. It's
consistency.
Consistent, yeah.
You don't want to look like a fucking pie shape. The bottom of the fender is wide open and the top of the fender is tight.
Right. If I see a wedge gap, you know what? Most likely your fender is not aligned properly up and down or left to right or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion. My number 4 would be trim work. I'm talking about the alignment of the trim itself.
Okay, yeah.
Even if it's pitted chrome or dulled stainless or whatever it is,
yeah.
I at least want it to be somewhat straight. If there's a dent here and there, it's fine. If depending on if it's how much of a driver it is or how much of a car show it is. But I think that's my number 4. Right? I guess we're going 1 through 5. Is that what we're doing now?
I don't know, man. Usually, if the paint work and stuff doesn't catch my eye, I'm just continuing to walk.
Yeah, right.
Like, I'm sorry to say it. I don't know what to say. I apologize for anybody that if you see me out and about and I walk past your car, don't fucking take it as an insult.
Well, I mean, everybody has their go-to, their like handful of cars where they go and look at them no matter what shape they're in. Just depends on what mood you're in while walking past a car, I guess.
Yeah. Like when I'm walking by some vehicles, another thing that I look for that's not body and alignment, because, we can sit here and we can talk about gaps and alignment and paint and all that shit for fucking hours. But I feel like we gave you a pretty good idea of what you're looking at.
Yeah.
And the next big thing that I look for, especially in the truck world, like when you walk around a truck and it's slammed and they don't have the bed in it or something, and you can see the actual rear suspension setup and airbags or frame or whatever, I look at that. I look at a lot of that, even if it's junk.
Right.
Like if something's slammed and shit and it's got an opening, I want to see how they did it. And I want to see what.
Yeah.
And as far as quality goes, if you got any sort of suspension or any area of a vehicle that you can look at like that.
I mean, it's awesome. It's mechanical. It's engineering. It's fucking badass.
Yeah.
The shit that people do nowadays is
right.
crazy.
But you can also look back there. And like, I know a lot of people, they look and they see suspension or they see the chassis and they don't really know what they're looking at. With us being around it and having to have engineered some shit and re-engineered some shit and studied some actual engineering of it, or if you haven't gone to college and really studied,
geometry and shit like that.
Yeah, the concepts of the rear ends and the fucking shocks and the fucking this and the that and, and the 4 links compared to the 3 links and the Watts links and all that shit, you might not know exactly what you're looking at. Now, a lot of times you can look at some geometry and be like, okay, that just doesn't look right or whatever, if you have an idea. But the number one fucking thing I'm looking at when I see some stuff like that, I'm looking at the welds.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't, okay, I don't need no dime stacked. If anybody's been through any welding school or any welding class, like,
they tell you not to do that.
They
tell you to try to steer away from fancy puddles and stuff like that.
Yeah. And like the certifications that we ended up getting, they told us not to do it because we would fail, because they want a directional solid weld. And if you do it right, you don't need, like, all the stacking of the dimes is just fancy work.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Especially if you're doing MIG welding and shit. Like if you're doing TIG welding, I mean, there's no real other way around it. When you're using filler rod and shit, I mean, it should be stacked because that's how it fucking works.
Yeah, right.
But like, if a lot of times, if you can see a bad weld, like, okay, if you ever looked at any sort of welding, and I'm not sure if anybody out there has seen this or not, but if you've ever looked at a good pile of bird shit, and when you look at a weld, it looks like bird shit. There's a phrase out there called bird shit welds. And that's the last thing you want anywhere on your fucking truck, because bird shit welds equals...
Especially suspension under load.
Yeah. It doesn't need to be fancy by any means. But if it looks like a bunch of bird shit, literally bird shit, or if you ever seen a wormhole, big old pile of fucking dirt beside it, the worm shit out.
And then bird shit on top of that.
Yeah. I've seen some pretty interesting stuff in my day. And that's what I'm looking at whenever I get any chance to look at some suspension work of any kind.
Yeah, and
because we're talking about safety. We're talking about, like, holy fuck, what the hell? What am I looking at here? Like, I don't want no fucking riding that. You're going to kill yourself.
Yeah, right.
And another thing, like, when you're looking at something slammed, you can tell a lot about the engineering it went into. There's a way to slam a vehicle if you're building your own stuff. Now, you can get away with the universal fit custom chassis and frames.
Yeah, if you have the money to spend on a custom chassis, those usually come already sorted out as far as geometry goes.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell them what your wheel, like a lot of that stuff gets built around what your wheel package is and stuff like that.
Yeah, what vehicle you're running.
Yeah, but if you look at a truck or a car that's slammed, and when you're looking at it slammed and it looks great and blah, 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 but there's a way to actually get it to where when it's slammed, the wheels in the front are still almost parallel in where they're supposed to be.
Right.
Because there's a way to accomplish that with the A-arms if you were to build them specifically custom made directly to that vehicle. And a lot of times, I'd say 9 times out of 10, no matter what custom frame and chassis you get, it's going to be sitting there and it's going to be, what's the word I'm looking for?
Camber?
Yeah. The camber's going to be out of whack, which is fine. It's just the way it's sitting there. But that's just something that I'm looking at. And if those are remotely straight up and down, you know that more than likely there was a little bit more thought and process into that design than picking it out of a catalog, I guess. Nothing against anybody that buys anything because we use them all the time. Right. But that's just one thing that drives me crazy.
You're going to have a little bit of inward direction when it's slammed, but as long as your geometry is right when you're at ride height and your alignment's set up properly at ride height, that's what really matters. But yeah, like you said, there's a way that you can correct that for the most part when it's all the way slammed, because it just, in my opinion, just doesn't look good when the top of the wheels are just
so far in. It's just something that I see. Yeah, I mean, just because of the way that when it drops, your lower A-arms pushing out, and your inners coming in.
Yep, and obviously you're not going to have that issue in the rear because most trucks are solid axle.
Yeah. I'm just being anal.
Far and in between there.
Yeah, I'm just being anal. That's just something we're talking about, what I look at and shit like that. And what we're looking at, this is what I'm looking at. If you go around, and you see that, it's like, there was some thought and process into that. Mm-hmm. And also, if something catches my eye, I will actually get down on my hands and knees and fucking lay on my belly and actually look up underneath it and look around.
Yeah.
Because the nicer the vehicle is, the farther and deeper I'm getting into the actual vehicle.
Right. Yep.
The paint stops me, the gap stopped me, alignment and all that shit stops me. And then interior would be obviously the next step in the process.
Going back to the steering though real quick,
mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen a truck or car laid on the ground and you go inside and you see the steering wheel is cocked, but the wheels are straight as you can tell anyway? I'm always curious to see whether or not they corrected the tie rod angle.
Right.
That a lot of times that goes missed in a lot of applications. A lot of people forget about that. So if you're in a lowered car and you go down the road and you hit a bump or if you're hitting some bumps and you want to take you all over the place, probably try to correct your steering angle.
Yeah.
So like when a car goes up and down, especially if it doesn't have cowl steering, the steering wheel should stay straight going up and down. If it doesn't, then it's not set up properly.
You're talking about the actual steering wheel looking like it's 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock?
Yep. And if everything does look straight and it did their work, and you're still looking at the interior and the steering wheel's crooked, then they didn't.
They put it on the wrong fucking spline.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake, just cock it a spline or two.
Yeah. It takes a couple minutes.
Yeah. If you don't think anybody notices that the steering wheel isn't fucking where it's supposed to be, guess what? I'm looking at it.
It bothers the hell out of me.
Yeah. I like whenever I'm watching car shows and shit like that, and they're fucking showing it to people, and they turn around like, look, I get it that you might be cutting and pasting video to look this way and that way, but if you're showing off a brand new build at the end of a fucking car show, and you decide that the best fucking angle that you have or best video that you have is the steering wheel looking like it's turned 90 fucking degrees or whatever, like, don't do that.
No, yeah. If I'm showing a vehicle to a customer for the first time, and they spend all that money to pay to build a thing, when they first sit in that car, what are they going to look at? The gauges, steering wheel, the dash, everything like that. if I'm a customer and I spend $100,000-$200,000 on a car,
300, 400, 500,
whatever,
700.
Yeah, whatever it is. I don't want to sit in my car and look at a crooked steering wheel. It's simple and stupid, but it's not really.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference in what somebody thinks about it.
Yeah,
and given first impressions,
especially if you're at a car show.
Yeah,
or on TV,
right,
or anywhere. It fucking drives me crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I forget what the fuck I was talking about, Randy.
Oh yeah, sorry. You're going into trunk gaps and body. You were going back into that, and then we're talking about.
Oh, I was working my way into the interior.
The interior, that's right. Yep.
Yeah, I was just saying as I'm walking around, like even if you have wood in the bed, I'm like, don't have no bubbles in the lacquer finish on top, or not the lacquer, but don't have no bubbles in the clear on top of the wood, or the bolts in the bed like cocked and crooked. You know.
Yeah.
I'm picking all that shit out.
Oh yeah.
And I'm even looking at how well it's put together, how much time and effort is at the end of the day.
Yeah, if I'm looking at a bumper, I want to make sure that it's
fucking 1 inch off the fucking back and 1 inch off the back over there. If it's that far.
Yeah, it's level across the front, level across the back. Is the gap the same in between the grill area and the body area and the back area, the rear area?
Yeah.
Is all the gaps the same left to right, up and down? Does everything make sense?
Is it headlight alignment straight?
Right. If you look at a headlight and you see the little DOT markings at the bottom, you know, where are they at? Are they in the center?
Well, you can see if they put it in upside down.
Right. Yep.
There's just so much that goes through my head when I'm looking at something.
Yeah, and we're going back into the interior. I mean, if you open the door up and...
Usually they got one door open, or they have the window down so you can peek your fucking head in.
Yeah, look, I immediately go... My first look, obviously, is the steering wheel and
gauge cluster.
Gauge area. But right after that, before I go like visually into the interior, I look at the door panels and see how tight they are up against the door.
Yep.
If there's any like weird gaps or anything like that, I don't like that. I get it sometimes. You just break those clips and
yeah.
If the car has clips or whatever, sometimes you can replace those. A lot of the older ones are the metal clips. Usually adjust those a little bit so you can get a better fitment, but you know sometimes they break and you just don't feel like
finagle fucking.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
Just slap it on.
Yeah, and if you were told to make that panel out of fucking, you know, that board shit, not like thicker than cardboard.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
you put that on and off a couple of times, and it fucking just tears.
Yeah, it's ruined.
Yeah, if you make it out of wood, don't get me wrong, you can get away with making it out of a thin plywood or whatever.
Yeah, or
press board or whatever.
Right.
That's all fine and dandy, but if it's exposed to any moisture, it's going to start rippling and shit, and you're going to have fucking problems anyways.
Mm-hmm. I think over the last couple of years, I've found that I mean, it's a little bit more expensive, but I like aluminum.
Yeah, that seems to hold up the best. You can adjust it accordingly because it's thinner.
Yeah.
But it's stable.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting back to the interior.
But then once I get past the door, I mean, I'm not even past door panels yet. I'm looking at the window seal and everything.
And, fucking looking at the knobs.
And the knobs.
Okay.
The
if both windows are down.
The window cranks and everything.
Yeah, if both windows are down or both windows are up, I want that knob to be
in the same place.
Spot.
Yeah, same place on from left to right.
Yeah.
Driver to passenger.
Yeah, and same thing with the door handle.
That's what I try to do when I set this up. I'm like, where is this at when it's down? Where is it up when it's up?
Right.
Is it going to be similar? As close as possible. As close as you can get.
I'm usually, when I set it, I'm with the window up.
Yeah, because that's where it's going to be most of the time.
That's where it's going to be most of the time. And when I start cranking it down, I don't really care. Okay, same thing. We're working on a truck right now, and it's fucking beautiful. But if I have one complaint about the fucking door panels, I'm going to complain about it right now. Because
I already know what you're going to talk about.
What am I going to talk about?
Go ahead.
No, I want to know if you know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Are you talking about the glue that holds the glass into the channel?
No, but I could bitch about that too.
God damn it.
No, but I could bitch. No, what I'm talking about is when I tried to crank the window down, I've tried to do it 3 times now, and I forget about it every time until I do it. I start cranking, and it doesn't have the roller.
Oh, and the knob on the handle itself.
Yeah, the knob on the handle itself. It's not a roller knob.
Yeah, it just...
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Which is all fine and dandy. It just puts a damper on things. But
It looks like it's supposed to.
Right. But when you crank down, there is a spot that comes out towards the lower part of the door panel. And when I crank, it literally catches, since it doesn't roll.
You got to loosen your hand up so you can.
Yeah, you got to loosen your hand up.
Motion.
And in order to hold on to it properly, you can't just be out at the end of it. And since you got to be inward towards it, it catches my fucking knuckle every time and rips the skin right off the son of a bitch.
Holy shit.
Fucking 3 times now.
Yeah. Don't have long fingernails, I guess.
Well, it ain't fingernails. It's my knuckle.
No, I mean, you just rip the vinyl right off there with your fingernail.
But these are like, nobody ever thought about that. If I was the driver, if that was mine, I'd fucking get a new one. I'd change every knob in that fucker.
Yeah,
door handles and everything just to get a better one.
Yeah. Well, that's why I lubed up the window regulator so much, so it works nice and easy.
Oh, it does, yeah. The whole operation's fine. My knuckle's probably just the one dumb knuckle that's too fucking big because I've smacked it and broke it and ripped it off of fucking 95 million other things in this world, building hot rods. But I look at the gauges. I can tell a lot about gauges because I put a lot of gauges in. And if it's not Dakota Digital, I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, they're the best on the market.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is.
They look good. Now, granted, they could start expanding and doing some cooler universal shit.
Oh, and they have so many universal models out there, and you can get them custom made, obviously.
Right.
But I know what you mean. I feel like they should have.
Well, I feel like it's a Harley Davidson. We've been looking at the same thing for 20 fucking years.
God, don't get me started on that.
But
it's annoying as hell.
Right. But it's the carbon fiber, yeah, fantastic. The white, the black, the gray. Like, it's time to give us another option.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, though. They can only...
Anyways, we're not talking about Dakota Digital.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. We're talking about fucking gauges.
Hey, we'll do another episode for just gauges himself. Right. Hey, I'd be down for that.
Yeah. Well, not even just gauges, just things that we think somebody should fucking think about in the engineering side and offer the customer.
I'll start making a list.
Right. Stay tuned for that one. So the gauges, like, okay, I've seen nothing against other gauges. The only reason I'm so keen on Dakota Digital is so much it offers. I've seen a lot of gauges that are fucking cool as shit, but I know that those gauges are horrible to put in. And there's 55 wires sticking in the ass end of them underneath the dash. Mm-hmm. That's just my bias towards it.
Yep.
I love a good-looking gauge. If the gauges look like they're supposed to be there, if the gauges fit that build, if they fit the interior, that's what I'm looking for. And for God's sake, those digital fucking gauges that look like I'm Marty from Back to the Future, and I'm going back to 1927.
Yeah.
Like, let's just get rid of it. Time for an upgrade, please.
It looks like you took it out of an 85 Cadillac DeVille.
Oh, and everybody's like, yeah, they're fucking great, I guess. I mean, if you got them in your truck or your car, that's fine. I love it.
I had an 89 Cadillac Seville with the digital gauges. In that car, it was pretty cool because it was futuristic for that time, I guess.
We're in the 27,000th century nowadays, I guess, when it comes to technology. And why are we still looking at fucking block letters and block fucking numbers? Like, it literally looks like hey, Doc, where are we headed tonight? We're heading back to 1983.
Back to the future.
Yeah. I got a fucking, the last time Chicago Bulls won a championship, I'm looking at their fucking scoreboard. It's fucking hideous. And now, granted, it's cool, I guess. For anybody out there that thinks I'm just ripping on you,
it's cool in certain occasions, certain applications. It's fine.
I guess.
If the car is calling for it, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it's not going to be that case, especially with a higher end build or I would say even a semi higher end build, like a middle end of the road. No, don't even do that. Just analog gauges. Just keep it the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Because realistically, I feel like the analogs or the mechanical gauges are more user-friendly and specific.
Right. It's all those young kids who can't read a analog clock nowadays. They're putting those. All I can read is digital.
Yeah. and you wonder what's wrong with the world besides having too many fucking kids. Yeah. Burning fuel is what's wrong with the world. No, having too many fucking kids that burn too much fuel is the fucking problem.
Yeah. And I can understand if you have a Holley digital gauge set up for a race car or something like that. That's fine, whatever. But even then, most you can still, even with like a Holley digital gauge, they still give you option for analog gauges on there. If you're going to do voltage or temp or anything like that, that's digital. That's fine. If it's a race car or rally car, I get that.
But the thing of it is, you can buy a radio right now that hooks to your phone that has GPS and Apple CarPlay and all this shit, and we're still staring at some ugly ass fucking gauges.
Why don't you tell us how you really feel?
But I'm just saying, like, we have the opportunity, like, come on now, Jack. Anyways, back to the interior. So, I just want it all to make sense. I want the interior to complement
Clash.
the exterior.
Yeah, you don't want it to clash. You don't want anything to clash.
Yeah, and going along with that, I'm looking at the stitch work. I'm looking at the wrap work. I don't give a fuck if it's leather or if it's whatever the fake shit is.
Leather, vinyl.
Leather, vinyl, who gives
whatever
a shit?
you use, that's what you use. That's fine.
Look, you can make anything look good as long as it all ties together. As long as one big thing I look at on the interior is if you have a center column. And that center column either looks like a bunch of 2x4s put together, and it's about as square as a motherfucking desk.
That's so old.
Yeah, it's now granted you can buy custom cup holders like that sit on the bench seat of your 87 Chevy pickup truck.
If you're
But it looks shitty.
If you're spending the time to make that like the engine bay look nice, and if you're making custom panels and custom this, custom that, and you go to the interior and you slap together two pieces of wood and it looks like
two pieces of fucking wood.
Two pieces of wood together with leather wrapped around it.
Settle down.
I just don't think it looks good.
No, it has to fucking flow. Like, why? Okay, I love cars that are amazing on the outside, but it needs to look just as good on the inside, in my opinion. Like, if I go the whole way around your car, it looks fucking fantastic, and then I dive into the middle of it, and when I mean the middle, I mean the interior, and the interior looks like shit, I'm done looking. It's over. You've ruined it already. Like, you've done so much good stuff, and then you look in the
There's
inside.
so many, like, higher-end builds that do that, too.
Yeah.
So many higher-end, like, I'm talking about, like, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of build.
I used to work for somebody that they would fucking spend $120,000 on the paint work and the body work, and then the interior looks just like their fucking hairdo. Straight out of the 90s.
Yeah. Like, just think about what you're doing. If you have to draw it out, you can draw it out. I mean, as far as the exterior of the car goes, you don't always have to draw it out and do a rendering. The interior, I think, should have a rendering because it could come up looking like a clown car. Really,
even if it doesn't have a rendering, have a fucking thought. Like, sit in the son of a bitch.
Have some thought into it. Like, the amount of interiors I saw that were just kind of like, it's just everything clashed and was mixed, and the interior has to look just as nice as the exterior, and every interior modifications have to flow with the car,
right?
And looks like it belongs with the car.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, it just turns me off.
Well, not only that, it's just got to look good, and the stitch work's got to look good. Like, if I'm looking at some stitch work and it goes across the dash and it has a jaunt in it, waka 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 waka, like
a little Nike stripe.
Yeah. I've seen some interior work that was $70,000, $80,000, $90,000, and it was fucking shit. It was junk.
That and you ever seen like a high-end interior and like you look at the leather and the leather isn't pulled all the way over. It's got like a ripple in the leather in the seats.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like they didn't, I don't know, they just didn't.
They didn't hook it. They didn't do another hog ring.
Right.
You know, they didn't do another string through.
Or the pattern was off and it just didn't seat right.
I've been a part of a $750,000 restoration, and it came back and the leather was like some red ox from some other fucking country that was imported in, and it was astronomically priced just for the leather. And I shit you not, there's a spot where it looked like they stitched and fucked up and then went backwards about 3.5 inches to start the line back over.
Yeah.
And you just had for 3.5 inches.
Oh man.
Off to the side of it.
So they didn't redo that piece. They just tried to fix it.
Well, they probably ran out of leather. I mean, the leather was thousands, just for the leather. The hide was unbelievable. Whew. And now there's, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if you've ever stitched leather and then pulled out all the fucking thread and then restitched to like an inch beside it. You could totally tell, like, how do you do that? And how do you allow it? Like, think of it was like it was right when you open the door to get in and it's right on the seat.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean? Like, it's no inconspicuous whatsoever. It was either that or it was the rumble seat in the back of the fucking car is where it was.
Oh, okay.
So when you're showing it off, you walk around the car and you're staring at the rumble seat because it's open. Right there it is.
Oh, man. Plain as day.
Yeah. But I'm looking for all that shit on the interior.
Yeah.
Looking for everything.
All within, we could spend 5 minutes on it. You could spend 15 minutes on it, but a lot of times, a lot of that takes place within just a couple minutes.
Fuck, I'm 30 seconds in, I've looked at everything.
Yeah.
I've already picked it apart. My wife's already told me 3 things that suck about it. Not saying that's what I'm looking for, but I mean, we're in this industry and that's what pops out, you know?
Especially when you're looking at, not your competition, but the other people in your field.
Yeah.
You're definitely looking at that because
even when we're done with vehicles that we've built, I walk around and I'm like, that fucking just drives me crazy.
Yeah, right.
You know, that's the same thing. Like if something's chopped or anything of the sort, are the proportions right?
Yeah, look at the modifications and does everything make sense? Does the modifications flow with the car? Whatever it is,
proportioned right.
Yeah, that's number one is proportioning.
And I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, Randall. But here's the deal. As soon as you chop a truck that's not a Model A or a Model T, it looks bad. I've seen some chopped trucks out there that they took multiple inches out, and it's like, what the fuck?
If you're going to chop a truck,
you got to channel the rest. Section.
Or if you, no matter what, it's just going to be like half an inch, if that.
Yeah.
Like
a half an inch in the front to make it more aggressive or something.
Yeah, none of this 3-inch chop shit on a truck.
No, you can't do it.
Don't do it.
You can't do it. I don't like. I appreciate the work and the effort and everything. Even if all the metal work and the mud work and everything looks beautiful, or the lead work or whatever you did to make the chop look fucking great as far as body work and lines,
it never looks good in my opinion.
Right.
Unless it's obviously a Model A pickup or something like that.
Yeah. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because the pillars are so small, so thin.
Well, it's because the body's so thin, too. And a lot of times, the guys who do Model A shit, Model A pickups and all that kind of stuff.
Is it because it's a box?
Well, they get rid of the fender so it doesn't
Right.
It doesn't look as tall.
Mm-hmm.
The body itself doesn't look as tall.
Is it because of the squareness of the... Like,
Well,
I understand the fenders are smooth and rolling and shit like that, but is it because it's square?
I mean, I could see that.
Because a pickup truck, like, it's crazy that when I'm talking about a chopped trucks, like, there's one in particular in my mind that I saw behind a gas station one time. It was orange, and it was like a fucking 50 Chevy, and it was chopped, and it was just... Ugh.
Yeah, no, huge turnoff. It really is.
Like I said, even though it was done clean and stuff, it just... The proportions are way off, you know? There's one thing, like, okay, let's think of it this way. If you skip leg day, the proportions are off.
You're right. Makes sense.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
It just has to make sense. A chopped truck does not make sense.
Yeah. And any modification that happens, the one major role in any sort of customizing is grills. It's really hard to step away from the authenticity and the stock grill.
Right.
When you're modifying.
Yep.
I've seen customization where as soon as you change the grill, it changes the entire vehicle to what it is to what it was to what it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, unless you do it subtly.
Yeah.
or do it in like a reproduction kind of way, where you can still tell us it looks like the same grill.
You steal from the original grill.
Yeah. It just doesn't look like the same car anymore when you do something really custom.
When I think of changing the grill completely, there's a Cadillac that on Bitch and Rides, one episode, I think it's purple or something like that. I can't remember what. Dark purple. They changed the grill completely, but they used the same squares that were in that Cadillac and created a different grill. But since they used the same idea, in essence.
What the hell is this?
It's noon.
It's noon.
Is this a beer in a wine glass?
This is wine in a wine glass.
I feel extravagant.
Well, it's a good thing I'm done with the Kahlua and the coffee.
Yeah, I just got done with that. Cheers, buddy. Okay, just go right to just take a sip right out of there.
That's good. So, anyways.
This is nice. I like this.
Thanks,
oh,
baby.
yeah. Thank you.
So, anyways, back to the Bitch and Rides.
I love a good Modelo wine glass.
Oh, yeah. But they did it subtly, and it's nice.
No, it.
Because it didn't take away from it completely.
Totally agree with you. What that stuff is, that's the engineering that we're talking about. Like in previous episodes, like that's the kind of shit that it just takes it over the top. The more thought you put into it, and I'm not saying like a lot of people put thought into cars or modifications that are horrendous.
Oh yeah,
put your thought in the right direction.
Well, that's the thing. I know of a couple of builds that changed grills and. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. Changes everything, and then it just looks like a kit car. Mm-hmm. You put all that time and effort into it, now all of a sudden you're known as a kit car.
So here's an exception, which I love what the guys did back in the day with the like the Mercs, like the 53 Chevys and all that kind of stuff, and the shoebox Fords.
When they were taking grills from other cars and putting them on Mercs and shit like that.
That shit.
Well, again. The beauty of them doing that is that concept of the Merc and that build class or whatever, that's kind of like a pass. Because these huge monster fucking cars with a huge monster grill, it looks the part.
Yeah, they're leads. Most of those are lead sleds.
Right.
If you want to call it a lead sled. I don't know what people are calling it these days, but...
Well, not very many people use lead.
Right.
So I guess it's Bondo
although,
sled.
Although a lot of people are getting back into that. A lot of shops are I feel like are getting back into that. You can see that on social media all over the place. People are going back to the...
That's all I want to work with.
The old school ways.
That's all I would rather work with because motherfucker, that's why.
Yeah. Those guys, I mean, those guys were the pioneer.
Yeah.
Pioneers back, for custom world. Mm-hmm. Besides the guys back in the day on assault flats and all that, taking fenders and shit like that off and making cars faster. Besides those guys, back when they started doing lead sleds and those guys are the custom pioneers. And I give it to those cars look awesome.
Yep.
With custom grills. For some reason, those Mercs and those shoebox Fords, if you do it right and make a nice grill, it looks really nice.
Well, that's like I said, it goes with it. But if you're taking...
That's the style. If it goes with the style.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting at. It goes with the style.
But you can't just take grills out of some of these muscle cars and put something new in.
No, you can't do that.
You just can't do that. And you can't just... Like the lead sleds and the shoe boxes are kind of... Just because of the body style, the way that it flows and rolls and stuff like that.
Yeah, and a lot of those guys, they extend their rear end. The taillight section and all that. If you see those cars, and I'm going to talk about symmetry real quick.
Right.
Like, you have to look left to right and make sure everything's, you're looking at a car like that. It takes a lot of time and effort to make those symmetrical. When you're extending the whole trunk area or extending hood area, Frenching in headlights and taillights, and if you're doing custom work like that, if you're not on point with left or right, it just doesn't look right. It looks like it's winking at you.
Well, same thing if you chop something.
Right.
You better make sure that fucking top you're putting back on is square and the whole 9 yards.
If they were consistent with how they cut it,
yep,
then
technically it should fall.
It should
right into place.
Right.
Ish.
Depending on the car, you're going to have to chop and section and add pieces here and there. But
Yeah.
look at that kind of stuff.
That needs to be looked at. That needs to have the time into it. That goes to, does the modifications make sense? And do the lines flow and the whole 9 yards? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this. I don't know if anybody watches the old Bad Chad guy, but he does a lot of crazy shit where he chops stuff up and puts stuff in certain places and uses old pieces off the cars and stuff. Not all, like, everything that he does, even though it might be fucking far out for some people and shit, and might be lethargic or whatever somebody says.
Unethical.
Like, he's at least making the lines make sense.
Yeah, I feel like he takes time and effort into that.
Right.
As best as he can.
Yeah. And I'm not sitting here picking apart Bad Chat or anything.
I think he's awesome.
I love watching that shit.
Yeah.
Like there's 95% are fucking blowing him up saying how much he sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with some of the ways that he put metal together.
Well, I don't agree with how everybody does shit.
Well, right, yeah.
You know?
But he's just...
I don't agree with the way you fucking do shit, Randy.
Oh,
I'm joking. We're on the same page with most of that shit anyways.
Yeah, I feel like we are.
Well, I hope so. Fucking build hot rods.
That's why we're doing it together. Cheers to that.
But I think we're gonna end up doing an episode on TV fucking stars and builders and shit. It's what we think about them.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
But yeah, what I'm getting at is there's thought process behind it and stuff, and like,
And he has an eye for it. He's not measuring all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He's just...
You go to his channel right now, and he took a 4-door and he cut the whole fucking top off, and then took that whole top. He's making a convertible out of it,
right,
or a cabriolet, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
He's taking the whole top off. He cut it all the fuck off, and now he took the top, all that extra metal, and he's putting it where he just cut off,
right,
and making it swoop perfect.
Okay.
He's taking all that
Yeah.
and running those lines perfect. Like, I've been watching it because he does it every day.
I haven't seen that.
I don't know what it is, but I believe I don't think he's keeping it a 4-door. He's making it into a 2-door. Like, that fucking one he did with the truck was amazing.
Which truck?
He made a 4-door car, turned it into a truck not too long ago.
You talking about the cab over one?
No, I'm talking about just a 4-door that he got. He turned it into a truck. I can't remember what it is. It was cool and shit, though.
A while ago, I watched him cut up a 49 Merc or 50 Merc, chop the top off, and he welded on a Ford cab over cab to the top of it.
Yeah, that was some wild shit. That was wild. Big, monstrous.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. Sorry to go off on a Bad Chad fucking run, but I'm just giving you some perspective and things to look for if you don't understand what we're trying to get at here. You know, have we dove into enough here, Randy? You know, I mean, we could keep on going on this.
If you haven't taken anything away from this, I don't understand. But
well, okay. One last thing I want to talk about here before we're done, and that is, if you don't know what type of vehicle you're looking at, or even if you're familiar, really look when these custom vehicles and these big show cars are in front of you, or any vehicles in front of you. Look for the tucked bumpers. Look for the gaps around things that aren't on the vehicle as far as bumpers go and shit. And look how nice and tight this stuff is now. And also, if something was put on like a chin strap or things, like any modification that you can clearly see is not typical to this vehicle, really study it and see how it's done. Back at the beginning of this episode, we were talking about being at a car show and standing around this Camaro that was fucking badass and nice and black. And after we went and we looked at that Tri-5, we came back to that Camaro.
And keep in mind, this paint job was completely flat. It was one of the best black paint jobs I've seen in person.
Yeah. And I wanted to actually talk to whoever owned it.
Right. We were standing around looking for him.
Yeah, we were there
asking people.
Yeah.
Do you know the owner of this car?
Yeah, because we wanted to know who painted it, because I wanted to fucking know who painted it because it was that nice.
Yeah.
But we came back to stand around a little bit longer. So we walked the whole way from one end of the fucking car show, the whole way back. Now, mind you, we spent probably 15, 20 minutes around this car already. And then we got to bullshitting with the two guys, and they told us to go look at a Tri-5.
Yeah.
So actually, it was probably more like a half an hour because we got to bullshitting pretty heavy.
Yeah, we did. We were talking to him for
So
a
we
while.
went back to the Tri-5 and then back over here to this fucking thing, and we're walking around it again, and there it was. All of a sudden, there it was. There was a weld seam like you wouldn't fucking believe on the back pillar.
The sail panel area.
On the sail panel.
Yeah.
They clearly replaced the quarter, and they decided the best fucking place was to cut right through that sail panel. And if you were looking at the car the way that we look at it, and we go the whole way around it, we missed this the first time because we didn't look directly at that sail panel. The only way you could see this weld seam is if you were staring at the sail panel and you caught the light just right.
Just right, yep.
And you came around, like when your body's moving and you're following that glare and it hits that sail panel just right, you could literally see the whole sail panel was cut right in half. And there's a weld seam right the fuck there.
It almost looked like they didn't even grind down the welds.
Yeah.
It was that bad.
It was really, really, really bad.
I just don't understand how that happened.
Yeah, and we went around to the other side, and they had the same thing, but the cut was like at a completely different spot in the sail panel. Like one was like right through the middle of it, and the other one was like, what, 3/4 of the way up or a quarter of the way up? One of the two, I can't remember which direction it was, but it was fucking bad.
It was really bad.
And as soon as you saw it, that's it. That's it. And we were bullshitting with the two same guys that we were bullshitting with before. And I was like, I thought this paint job was fucking beautiful. And that was all on body work. That had nothing to do with paint because the paint looked flawless the whole way through it. And that body work is what screwed all that up.
Something got screwed up in the prep process or something. I'm not sure.
Well, it was just, why would you cut it there?
That too.
Why would you cut it there? Why wouldn't you go the whole way to the top or the whole way to the bottom? Like sometimes you don't have a choice.
If there's rust coming up there and you got to cut it at a certain place, at least make it even left or right. Even if he doesn't make it left or right, the whole bodywork prep process was not right.
If I had to guess, they just puttied over that. They didn't put any sort of like lead. Obviously, they didn't do lead over it. And obviously, they probably didn't do a slick of fiberall.
The bodywork must have shrank in there, and it could be a number of things.
Yeah, something shrunk, and it popped out, and it was just bad. Now, granted, we were probably the only two that ever saw it the whole fucking day.
Probably.
There's thousands of people went by and probably didn't see it. But still, that paint job was amazing.
Paint job was
Paint job was great.
like I said, one of the best black paint jobs I've seen.
Yeah.
In my career.
Yeah, right. And I've seen a lot of black paint jobs. But anyways, when we're talking about looking at cars and when you're like, we're trying to educate you on you being a better car guy. You know, all these episodes are so you're a better car guy. You're building your car better. You're thinking about something that we are bullshitting about that strikes a chord. And now all of a sudden you're like, I don't want that on my car.
Right.
Or that now I'm looking at my car and it's like, holy fuck, I didn't do a very good job. I thought I did a great job. Now I didn't do a very good job. Now I want to upgrade. I want to do it right. Like that's what we're trying to get across here with these episodes. And we're trying to just make, like I said, trying to make you better car people. And
it's all about bettering yourself no matter what, either way.
Yeah. Now, since I've been in the industry, my parents have come with me to many car shows. And I'll never forget the time when it was my wife, me, and my parents. And we're looking at cars, and my parents are saying how amazing this car or that car is or whatever, right? And they're like, what do you think about this? And I was like, I don't know if it was me or my wife. It was probably my wife. She was like, it looks pretty good except for the things waving at you.
Yeah. And
she was like, what do you mean? And we explained to her what we're looking at. And she literally told me later on in life, she's like, from that day forward, I never looked at another car the same.
Yep.
And she's like, I can pick out shit. And like when we go to car shows now, my mom's like, did you see that one car? Did you see that fucking thing? She's like, oh my God. She tells me, she's like, yeah, we saw this car. And she was like, you've been proud of me. It looked like shit.
And they probably were like, that's good enough.
Yeah. And my mom's like, yeah, but my mom's like, you be proud of me because I saw that it was shitty. I saw that it didn't look very good. And everybody else thought it was amazing, but she's like, I know what I'm looking at now.
Yeah, good for her.
Yeah, but that's what we're getting at here.
Yeah.
If we can teach somebody who doesn't go to car shows a lot how to look at something, that's what we're talking about. That's what this whole fucking episode was about.
Why are we starting fights and shit?
Well, that's fine. Earlier in other episodes, we say the car's never going to lie to you. Like, if it doesn't look done, it's not fucking done. It's that simple. And if you've put all this time, like, we're trying to avoid problems here. We're trying to help you build your dream car. We're trying to help you in the backyard. And if you go to car shows and you're seeing this while you're trying to build something, and it's really coming out into focus now, and you're changing the way you build shit for the better, that's what this is all about. That's what we're getting at. That's what it's all about. The build is all about. It's helping you guys. It's fucking giving you guys a perspective that not very many people that I am aware of talk about. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're getting at. That's it. So you got anything else to add to this, Randy? You want to add some more?
No, I mean, just keep all that in mind when looking at cars at a car show or in a parking lot.
We're not talking shit.
No, we're not.
We're not talking shit. We're not trying to diss anybody's shit. We can pick our own shit apart. We do pick our own shit apart all the fucking time.
Right, and we try to fix what we pick apart. It's everybody, no matter what level you're at, has been in that situation. It's just the way it is. Like you said, we're just trying to show people what to look at, especially for those who don't know.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all we can take away from this episode. I want to thank you all for listening.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And as always, find us on all social media outlets: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Nope. Not Twitter.
We're not on Twitter.
TikTok. Well, Twitter is no more.
We're not on X.
X marks the spot. Yeah, we're not on X, Twittery stuff. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We try to get a video out every Friday on Facebook. We try to get videos out as much as we can on YouTube.
Yeah, if you're following along, we're going to do a few more videos on this C10 we're building.
Yep.
And then keep your eyes open for our next project that we're getting in. It's a 49 Diamond T hot rod. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah. The client has named it the Rot Rod. Because it's not rotten and it's not hot. It's just rot. No, it's
He's a really nice guy. He's ex-military. He's going to be like a military style build.
Yeah, it's kind of dedicated to that type of thing, which is amazing.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, it's the Rot Rod coming in, and it's going to be cool. It's pretty badass already. We're going to finalize it and finish it up for him. We're going to go as far as he wants us to with it, but we're going to get it up and running, and it's got fucking wild big block in it, and it's got big tires and little tires.
Air ride. It's going to be pretty sweet.
Slammed, the whole 9 yards. A lot of custom touches going on it.
Yeah.
So it'll be cool, but like and follow and share. If you didn't like the episode, follow and share anyways. You know? If you didn't like what you heard, I'd love to hear from you. Like, write to us. You can get on our Facebook page and write to us. You can get on our website. We're in the process of trying to get some other builders in here to interview and stuff. So if you know of anybody, or even if you want to be part of this, if you want to come on here and be interviewed by us and talk about you building cars and shit, man, I'd love to hear it. If you spend your weekends building shit, you know, or you're a builder yourself, you got a business or whatever, man, get on our website, www.I.B.F.HotRods.com, and there's a section on there you can go to the podcast section. And at the bottom of the page, you can give us a recommendation on who you think we should be interviewing or why you should be interviewed. And we can go from there.
So go ahead.
Yeah. And if you don't, like I said, if you don't like us, and you can get on there and you can bitch about what you think we should talk about, or bitch about our perspective not being correct, or bitch and agree with us about our perspective being correct.
Or give us a topic you want to hear about.
Yeah, or give us a topic that you want to hear about. Because we're here to serve you guys and help you guys out. Oh, and while you're there, go ahead and buy a t-shirt and a fucking koozie. Everybody needs a beer koozie. Keep that son of a bitch cool. And everybody needs a t-shirt to make sure you look cool. And why not get both?
I like mine. It fits nice. It's nice texture. It's a nice feel.
It's a high-end 3-try blend goodness. Soft, cuddly, like a cat.
That's a nice shirt.
It's a nice shirt. But yeah, go ahead on all of our social media. Fucking follow us, the whole 9 yards. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're listening to us on Spotify, make sure to, down in the show notes, make sure to rate us, like us, tell us what you think, and answer some of the questionnaires at the bottom of that page, whether you liked it, what you think we should do more, or whatever. And all that's going to help out with the algorithm. It's going to help us out. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, here's to you. Elliot Slacks over and out. Cheers to you guys.
Cheers,
Randy,
everybody.
Randy got a closure here.
No, you hit the nail on the head. That's pretty much it. Thank you guys for listening.
Yep. Here's to you guys.
Here's you guys.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to this episode of It's All About the Build podcast. Please comment and let us know your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel to follow along, and if you haven't already, check out our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok to keep up with what we have going on every week. Thank you all for listening.